States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Barkle?
Yes.
Mrs. Boyce?
Here.
Mrs. Giroux?
Here.
Mr. Gladden? Bonnie Horn?
Here.
Mr. Harriman?
Here.
Mrs. Laurent? Here. Mr. Mullaney?
Here.
Mr. Marin?
Here.
Mr. McCabe?
Here.
Mr. Murdoch?
Here.
Mr. Spilling? Mr. St. Pierre?
Here.
Mr. Thurber?
Here.
We have 12 board members present.
Great. And I guess the next one is a very, always did, introduction of all present. Who wants to go first?
Eric Bell, Assistant Superintendent of Management Services at CVS.
Mary Calvert Gray, CVS. Michelle Friedman, CVS.
Megan Zedek, Stafford Owens, Law Firm.
All right. Welcome, everybody. The next thing is executive session with a motion.
Motion.
Second. All those in favor, say aye. Dr. Davey, can you give us a
Sure.
reason?
Yes, thank you, President St. Pierre. This evening, we have requested executive session regarding number 4, a matter of proposed pending or current litigation. Number 6, a matter of medical, financial credit, or employment history of particular persons or corporations. Number 8, a matter of proposed sale, acquisition, or lease of real property. And number 9, a matter related to a specific student of CB.
Great.
Okay, great. So, Mr. Friedman, would you just do it? We'll
Get back to work. Time to go back to work, folks.
There, that's awesome.
Okay. Alex, are you recorded?
So we'll be open over.
Yes. So first is the capital project update.
Oh, okay.
After, so you've got a few more. Pass everyone down. Introduce themselves.
So, some of you folks weren't here before, so please introduce yourselves. Where did they go?
No, I can.
Eric, can you introduce yourself? We introduce our audience members at the beginning.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm Eric Robert with House Construction, president of the firm.
And Matt, what do you?
Matt Slattery,
Paul?
Paul Moy, I'm the project manager for Schoolhouse Constructions.
I think I've got everybody else already. Oh, no.
I'm Nicole O'Connell. I am on the board agenda. It's nice to be a pro for the.
Oh, that's right. All right.
Thanks for having me.
There.
Mr. St. Pierre, you want to just ask me
Oh, all right. And we have another folk who's virtual here. Garrett, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Good evening, everyone.
Howdy. Introduce yourself. You're Garrett. There we go.
Yeah, I'm Garrett Hamlin, principal of Tetra Tech.
Yes, and Jim Bouffard is also on from Tetra Tech.
Thank you.
Jim?
They left the light.
Hi.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mayor.
All righty. So now we're in the capital project update.
Okay, so I'm going to just acknowledge that this has been one of our busiest summers ever. And the superintendent has had multiple capital projects, and we've never been as busy as, I've never been as busy as this is with everything else. But we are very pleased of the progress that's been happening. The work has been outstanding. And the other acknowledgement I'd like to just share for Tetra Tech and Schoolhouse, on behalf of Mr. Bell and myself, there's been a tremendous amount of partnership and collaboration. Best working together teamwork that I've ever seen. including things like moving a 727. Where the trailer hitch or whatever the axle was, it broke twice and it was fixed and then moved, and you would have thought things kept moving forward, but it was just teamwork. So with that said, and lots of ingenuity and creative problem solving. So that's the kind of perspective that's been happening across our campuses. And the work that we've been viewing and I've been witnessing has been tremendous. So I'd like to now turn it over to Mr. Bell, who you know has been the tip of the spear on our part, and the point for working with our contractors and keeping the construction working so well together. So Mr. Bell.
Thank you, Dr. Davey. We've been sending out weekly updates to our capital project. They've been received very well by our community, as well as our local superintendents and business officials have given us positive feedback on that. Schoolhouse construction has assisted us in developing those weekly updates. So we thank them for that, and those who do continue to come out, and we're happy to answer questions as they arise. But again, our goal is to constantly put a message out there to our component school districts in our community, keeping them updated on the capital project that they so well supported at 72% yes vote in our communities throughout the North Country. So very happy about those updates. We will continue those. We are ongoing. We do have 3 capital projects that are happening all at simultaneously at one time. I'm going to update you on a couple of them. And we've invited Schoolhouse to give you an update on our motor proof capital project, as well as leading up to the opening of our school. And then we've asked Gary Hamlin and Jim Clark from Tetra Tech to join us in a supporting role of that presentation. And one of the 3 capital projects is our fire alarm project. That was in existence a couple of years ago. That is ongoing and close to wrapping up. They were testing it today. When testing is completed, we then are working with Tetra Tech to have a handoff of that fire alarm system from Murray Electric to Weidman Electric, because we have 2 separate electrical contractors working on the job. So that testing is ongoing as we speak. Once we have the full report and blessing on that project is done, we can then hand it off and wrap that project up. The second project is our water line and exterior door project that was approved for this past school year, and we're spanning 2 years in the funding, last school year and this current school year, in order to afford that full project. The water line has been replaced. The new water line's in the ground and hooked up to our main campus. That part of the project is done, went straight and smooth, and done in coordination with our current contractors, and very positive experience with Edgar and Sons. The other part of it is our exterior doors in the CB Tech portion of our building. Those are on order. It is a 6 to 8 week lead time. We're expecting those by the end of September. And those arrive. Renee is the awarded bidder on that, and Renee will be installing those doors when they do come. So halfway there, I guess, on that project, probably a little bit more than halfway. So it's good positive news on that project. Our voter approved capital project, we made the decision, CBS made the decision with the support of this board to move 2 summers of construction really into one. When we shut down due to COVID reasons and the executive order of the governor, we asked Tetra Tech and Schoolhouse to ramp up efforts with contractors to try to move as much construction from 2021 summer to this current year's summer, as well as work that was to be ongoing during the school year, HVAC, and so on. So our teams took on the approach of, and working with the contractors, we're starting April 1, roughly around April 1, we started in March. Starting April 1, start ordering your materials now. We'll pay you for those materials, order them, get them on site, we'll pay you for them. The money's available for you to get them. And then try to schedule, and we're gonna work with you. Now Schoolhouse is gonna work with you to schedule your staffing to get the work done by the end of August. So it appears that we're in a rush really at the end of a summer, and you're like, we had April, May, June, July, and August, albeit through a pandemic and delayed ordering, all those other issues that come up with construction, and Paul and Eric will touch on some of that. We're really close to pulling off and being successful on expediting a large portion of this project to limit the impacts on our main campus throughout the school year and next summer. We have a primary goal of opening our building for summer school next summer without impacts of construction. And if we didn't take this approach, we wouldn't be able to say that today. We'd be looking at issues with our summer school next summer. So kudos to the team, Tetra Tech Schoolhouse, for really pushing that initiative, the board for supporting it, and we're very close to accomplishing that. We've asked Schoolhouse to come here today. They've been our construction management firm on this since prior to bid day, and give the board an update on how construction's gone, where we are today, where they see us heading into the opening of school. With that being said, we have Eric Robert and Paul Lemoy here. I'm going to turn it over to them.
Great. Thank you very much for having us this evening and for the kind words that have been shared. It's been a pleasure working on CBS's project, and it's a pleasure being here tonight. One of the things I shared with Dr. Davey is it's always nice to give a presentation when you have good news to share. So, and Paul said he wouldn't be here otherwise. And so, I'm really glad it was good news to share.
I only talk along.
All jokes aside, the project has been going very well. Certainly, there's a couple of stumbling blocks that we've uncovered in older buildings that we'll review. But overall, things have been going very well here, and there's been a very strong level of teamwork across the board. We handed out, just before everybody sat down, a packet that shows a brief agenda, and then there's a monthly progress report that we generate, which includes the month of July. And then the second document behind that, you'll see, is a more recent collection of photographs from different work areas on the project. To date, we're approximately 35 to 40% complete. So we've made some pretty good headway in this first summer construction phase of the project. We've been fortunate to tap into very little contingency, I'll say. Fiscally, we're in a very strong position, much of which actually comes to the bid day that we had. And as many of you might recall, we had a very successful bid day here at CPES. We're able to attract a strong level of interest and competition here in the project. So it was a strong start from there, and things have been moving along nicely fiscally. Getting into the items that we have on the agenda here, the first item is project safety and COVID-19. So this is one of the topics that's certainly at the forefront of our oversight on projects. And I'm pleased to report that we have had no reportable incidents or accidents on the project. The workers have all been very good, very safety conscientious. They all possess 30-hour certifications with OSHA, and many of them are union labor, and they go through regular formal training programs. This year, we were faced with some additional safety protocol, as we all know, the COVID-19 protocol. And so workers having to wear face masks, which can, as you can relate, can be very difficult when you're working on hot days and you're sweating in this mask and so forth. But overall, I have to commend the workers. We have to give some reminders occasionally, but they've been very good about doing that, practicing distancing. We've had people stay home when they're not feeling well, and we've had no incidents with COVID-19. So we're very grateful for that. Paul, I think I'd like to turn it over to you to kind of start going through some of the details in our report.
So I'll just give you a brief overview of where we are in each of the buildings, and certainly if you have questions, we're happy to entertain them. We'll start at the John W. Herald Center, and again, the photo packet in the back of your handout that we provided you, those photos were taken today, so they couldn't be probably any more recent than that. The first set of pages, the first page is in the main office area. There were some changes made to that, and you can see that the sheetrock is pretty well up. The doors are all in. We're looking to do some taping and painting in that area. The flooring is a little bit lagging behind. Again, the supply for rubber flooring was a little bit behind, and a lot of that is due to the COVID-19. So we're waiting anxiously to get the delivery date for that. Flipping the page.
The people online, Alex St. Pierre is sharing what Paul is discussing in the photos. since you can't have them in your hands, Mr. St. Pierre is going to share those photos with you.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah.
Page 2 of the photos takes us to the pool area. The pool equipment has all been installed. The CVES employees were actually receiving training today on the new pool filtration system. They've got a couple of minor little things to work out, and the pool should be up and running very soon. We've got a couple items that we've got to get to. The bigger items are when you get to page 2. This is where Mr. Slattery will be happy. These are today's photos of some of the classrooms. You'll see that the top left-hand photo is a classroom where the floor is in, the floor is waxed, the lights are in. All we've got to do is drop 50 or 60 tile, and that room is ready to put furniture back in, and you're ready to move in. You'll see in the next one, carpets down. In those photos, door frames need to have a finished coat of paint on them. And again, we're very, very close to moving in on those. I would say end of the week, early next week, as Jerry gets them waxed, we're going to be able to drop ceiling tile and get you into those spaces and get you in, get your teachers moved in as soon as we can. So
To that point, Director Brooks, Jerry Brooks, has worked closely with Olamoy and all the contractors to say, the directors have said, we need these spaces in priority order. So Jerry is working with the contractors to get the room, then O&M is preparing the room for staff, and then the directors are giving the staff the opportunity to go into that room. So it's really a domino effect, and we're trying to get as many classrooms done as early as possible because there's still work to be done before September 8th.
Right, sure, thanks. The next page is the special ed office area, probably of the utmost importance to Mr. Slattery, because one of those rooms is his office. The bottom left-hand photo shows that there's some plywood over the windows. Those windows are actually being installed at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. So those will all be in. The flooring is all in. What you see on the floor isn't like cardboard or whatever. It is actually cardboard, but it's cardboard covering the finished carpet. So the carpet's all down. Those rooms are done. Finished paint is in. Again, we dropped some ceiling tile, a last coat of paint on the door frames, and we're ready to get out of there. So that office area is really good. The next set of pictures is the bathrooms, and I just want to go on record by saying this is some of the best ceramic tile work that I've seen in the years of me doing this business. These guys are incredible in their workmanship. I mean, we've gone through, they're getting it done incredibly quickly, and you're not getting inferior product by them getting through here rapidly. They put 6 guys on this project, and I'll be hard pressed to get in there and find a tile or 2 that maybe needs to be replaced. They've just done incredible work. The bathrooms, I showed you a random sample of 4. There are 3 bathrooms that are, 2 of them are getting bathroom fixtures. As of today, they were about half done, the plumbing fixtures. The other 2 are ready for plumbing fixtures. They'll be moving right in there. So, and then they'll be grouting these bathrooms that I'm showing here and moving right into them. So by the end of next week, we're going to be just about finished with all the plumbing fixtures. Maybe just putting in your toilet petitions, those kind of things, but getting out of your bathroom spaces and getting those finished. The last one I have on the main campus is the site work. The pavement is going down. The pavement was going down this afternoon. Plantings are all in. This is, they expect to be finished with paving over here at the main campus, probably by the end of the week, and looking to move to the satellite buildings early next week. So that will be pretty well done. The plantings are all in. We've got some grass seed down and some mulch down. So we're working on growing some grass for you, but that area is also pretty well done. The north satellite office areas, this is probably the area that is right along with the classroom areas. We're probably just a day or 2 away from being able to move the principal and his support staff into their offices. A couple of hangups. The top picture on the right shows an open walkway. That's a door that through the COVID-19 process is not going to be here until a little bit later. So we've got to work through a couple of those entrances, leaving the existing doors on and getting through that. But some of that, the delay is just, they aren't going to be here in time to get them installed as school starts. So we'll work on second shift in the evening on a Saturday, and as they come in, we'll get those installed. Again, the floor coverings are in. I think this particular area does need doors and window frames painted. The top left-hand picture is principal's office. The window there is also going in tomorrow, Thursday, is probably going in on Friday. And that should finish up that area so that Mr. McCartney and his staff should be able to, mid next week, certainly by the end of the week, be able to start looking to move in there. The next page is the site work that's going on over at the satellite campus, and it's an extensive aspect of site work. There's a lot of pavement going in, there's a lot of site lighting going in. There's a little bit of a redesign happening, the bottom slide on the left. There's been some discussion with that transformer sitting out in the middle of the parking lot. Dr. Davey expressed his concern with that being pretty close to the bus path. So the contractor is going to hold up some pavement and stop it way short of there and give us a chance to redesign maybe the bus swinging a little bit wider so they aren't coming quite so close to that transformer and putting up a buffer. Tetra Tech is working on that design and how we can best fit that into the scope. There may be one light base that maybe have to be relocated out of that, but again, pretty minor stuff to try and stay away from that transformer. So next one is the south building. There has been some work happening in there. Some of the concrete floors have been cut up to do some of the underground plumbing work. Eric, everybody's been filled in about the structural issues we've got going on there. So that's taking a redesign, and we're working on opening up walls as Tetra Tech needs them opened up to do a structural review of what's there and what needs to be done to remedy that. And the contractors are being really great about supporting them as they come on site when they need to see something, opening up a wall and doing that. The bottom right-hand picture, you'll see the pad is poured for the annex addition that's happening on there. Those walls, the wood walls in the top left-hand picture are the framing walls that are going on that slab. So they've been building those inside the hangar part of that building on rainy days. So they've been taking advantage of when they can't be working outside. They've been framing those walls inside, and they'll move them outside and set them. As soon as we know the trusses are going to be here, we're probably going to set those walls and put the trusses right on. So the last pictures were taken this morning. Actually, these pictures weren't taken this morning. These were taken probably a week ago. What's happened since these pictures were taken is the playground equipment was delivered there yesterday about 5 o'clock. So that equipment is there. It's all, if you go down there, it's all boxed up in cardboard boxes, but it is on site. I've spoke to the contractor. Some equipment was arriving to do the install of this, and they were confident that they would have the playground equipment installed and ready for students by the opening day of school. So they assured me that they could meet that deadline. And again, we may have a little tiny bit of fencing that we've got to work around or something, but I think the majority of the equipment will be in, mulch will be down, and we'll be able to have it ready for students to use. So that's pretty much where we are in the project. Questions? Where we are. Okay, I will say for the contractors that I'm working with, Eric is right. The mechanical contractor came to me as soon as we came up with this plan to do all of the work at the John W. Herald Center this summer, and he's like, you more than doubled my summer workload for what I was planning on doing this summer. In order to do this, I've got to do some things. I've got to work some guys longer hours. I've got to bring in some additional people. He met those things. He got ductwork in way before we needed ceilings to be installed, and he's met every single deadline we've tried to give him to get us out of spaces, and continues to do that. Some of his covers and that kind of stuff are going to arrive in the 11th hour, and he's assured us that he's going to work whatever hours he needs to right through a weekend or whatever to get as much of that stuff that arrives on the wall and installed before kids arrive. as long as it's available. So we're really fortunate, and I think we're excited that we're going to be able to walk out of the John W. Herald Center by the time the kids get back with probably very minor punch list items to take care of and not have to disrupt Matt's summer school program next summer, unless they come up with some more stuff that you'd like us to do. But the stuff we're contracted with, we should be out of there. We'll certainly entertain doing more for you, but the stuff you've asked us to do, we should be out of there and moving on to the other buildings. And really, be pretty well done in the north satellite building as well. The bulk of our work at that point will be over in the south satellite building, and obviously the windows and doors down at the Mineville campus. So that's where we're headed for the south satellite through the winter, and then the rest of that in the early spring and getting finished early summer, and then in Mineville down there in the summer, redoing the windows and doors.
Contractors are very much so looking forward to working inside the hangar this winter. It's not too often that you have an environment like that in the country to work.
I was gonna say, I want one of those.
Sure. Eric, they've been briefed on as, so I'm an electrician by trade, so I don't want to get real technical on the whole BX replacement thing, because I could give you all of the nuts and bolts of that you want. Long story short, I became an electrician in 1985. They stopped using BX cable 10 years prior to me starting my career in 1985. It hasn't been used. It hasn't been used by anybody in the business in that amount of time. And the reason is they rely, when they use BX cable, on the metal sheathing of that cable is the earth ground. If that cable gets damaged in any way, you lose the ability to have a path to earth ground. If you watch lightning at all, lightning takes the quickest path to find ground. That's why if you're a golfer and you got your club pretty high up in the air, probably not such a good idea. It's going to hit, a radio tower, those kind of things first. It's looking for the easiest, quickest path to ground. If that wire becomes damaged in the building, you no longer have a path to ground. So it's going to find some other way to ground if you have some kind of an electrical issue. And that cable laying on your metal bar joists, the metal bar joists become the easiest path to ground. So you've now, in any cable being damaged, you've now energized the metal part of the building. I'm not here to tell you that the cable is damaged or in bad shape, because it's not. But we wouldn't be doing you a valuable service if we tore your building apart and did all this remodeling and didn't replace that and make it and put the most efficient and the safest aspect of the electrical system in that we could. And that's why we brought that proposal to you. Our electricians brought it to us, and I quickly concurred that while we have the building tore apart, now's the time to do that. The areas that we're doing work in, that we have them tore apart, I would highly recommend that you approve that change order. The rest of the BX that was identified through the rest of special ed, Jerry's got those rooms pretty well all put back together, wax and whatever. It's a lot of money to redo the rest of the building. And I can't sit here and tell you that's a great price, but the way I could tell you it's a great price is to put it together, put it out to bid, and let's see where it comes in as a bid package with maybe some other things that you want to do. So I would highly recommend that we address what we've got tore apart and fix it now, as opposed to putting it all back together and then paying somebody to open up all those ceilings, find it, locate it, and replace it at a later date. So
Had someone give me a big old free box of BX, I don't know why.
yeah,
No free lunches, man.
I thought it was great, and now
it's like FRP breakers. If you have any of them, you're sitting on a gold mine, because they haven't made them in about 45 years and they're very difficult to find.
Yeah.
So if you have any, they're incredibly expensive, and if you have to buy one, you'll figure that out very quickly. So yeah, they just stopped making it. The MC cable that they're going to replace that with is basically almost the exact same size diameter cable. The difference is inside that metal sheath, it's got a full size third conductor that's the mechanical ground. So besides having the metal sheath, that certainly does act as a help and a ground and a drain. It does have a full size wire ground that would get tied in. The electricians, as part of the proposal, would be adding ground panels to some of your panels so that there's a place to connect that. So questions? Again, I can be a lot more technical, but it'd be like a doctor speaking for you, I'm afraid.
That's great.
So does that complete your update for the two of yours? Okay.
Yes, yep.
So I want to give an opportunity to Garrett and Jim as well. If you have anything else you'd like to add in addition to the schoolhouse presentation. One, thank you for joining us tonight, and two, feel free to add if you have anything you'd like. Garrett, you are muted. It looks like your lips are moving from back here.
Thank you. Yes, I was. I'll just chime into what Dr. Dean said at the outset. This has been one of the busiest summers of construction I think we've all faced. And there's a really good collaborative team spirit going on among the design and construction management team and the owner, but also among the contractors. So really glad to see that.
I do have a quick question on the electrical side. So some old bases have built a gas system. And subsequently, there's a got separate ground lines to circumvent that risk. Why is that not an option?
It's not an option because, again, the ground wire won't be protected by an exterior sheath of cabling, and really it isn't a recognized UL listed electrical assembly, if you will. So while you could do it, and I won't tell you it won't work, you can't get a UL listing, so therefore you probably can't get an electrical inspection, and certainly couldn't get a CO with that.
So the military is exempt.
Military exempts itself from a lot of things.
Because they have guns.
It's like politicians, if you want.
They run a whole separate sheet line, right? It's all separate encased.
Yes.
And then a separate ground port and the whole thing. So you could run it in the same spot. Then limit it so you have to run a whole line all day.
Correct.
Right, get it done.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Unless there's any other questions, we'll move forward.
So I will say, managing this group of contractors, we haven't had one single employee issue with somebody not getting along with somebody else, and then the number of people, Marine alone has, I think today they have 23 employees on site along with the other 5 prime contractors. There hasn't been a single issue with a single employee, and in our business that's pretty much unheard of. You've got great superintendents working for the contractors that are out there, and top to bottom, they're doing quality work.
That's good to hear.
Yep.
Good news, and it's great to know that we're getting the value that our districts want us to have, and it's great for us to know the quality of the work will be goes along that.
Great job managing that too, so.
Yes, thank you. So thank you to our schoolhouse construction team here tonight. Thank you to our Tetra Tech team. So thank you, everybody, for being here and being part of it, and the board for allowing us to give this update. As we said, good news. There's a few bumps along the way, but we're working through those too. So very good. So thank you, everyone, for
Thank you very
being
much.
part of our board.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
Right.
Bye. So that's it for the update.
So that's for the capital project update, yes. That's the reopening.
Reopening overview.
Yes, so I'll just take the lead to start with. As the board is aware, we are preparing and working in unison with our component districts to reopen school. The great news is the governor has given us thus far the permission to do so. But there've been protocols put in place that we need to meet. I want to thank our administrative team and our entire administrative team and our staff who've been involved. Mr. Marin, who's on our reopening committee and was a vibrant and active member as well, and then helped with some of the actual sections. So the teamwork and the work has been phenomenal. I'm really pleased to share with the board that we had 3 excellent sessions that we were required to hold by our governor. However, the feedback has been tremendous, and the participation has been tremendous from our parent groups, and our parents rather. And our directors and our assistant superintendents have been having meetings with their staff as well to discuss the reopening. I want to say, Mr. Slattery, at least a dozen, if not more. Mrs. Friedman, the same. So, you talk about reopening, this has been, it's an extensive part, not only partnership, but we're then trying to get feedback and adjust our plans so it's going to work and work well as it possibly can. With that said, I was very pleased to provide an introduction for each of our sessions. Not only did I have the opportunity to introduce our team, I also talked, and I'm kind of looking at my notes here, that the governor not only gave us permission, but that parents are our priority to work with. Our students are our first priority, from our core values. Students are our first priority, and keeping everyone at a high level for health and safety is, again, that priority for us. That's the focus and the microscope that we're looking at our plan and how to move forward. We also acknowledge right now that in the North Country, across our whole region, our numbers have been very low. We're fortunate. Just in Essex County, unfortunately, there's been an outbreak at one of our nursing homes. We're closely monitoring that as well. So it's going to be a temperature gauge for our whole region. We also have been working in partnership with our health department. Clinton and Essex County, great partners. The board is aware, and we gave you some updates, and I even gave you some handouts tonight of flow charts for Essex and Clinton County. Those came from the health department. They came about contact tracing and information about that. What about testing? The governor asked us to provide that information. So those updates are being provided. I'm going to ask each of our divisional directors and assistant superintendents to help me with this and share a little bit about their overview. But I want to acknowledge the work of our committee, our administrative team, our stakeholders. Our committee was made up of nurses, teachers, aides, O&M staff, administrators, and it was really a collaborative work, but a lot of work happened within a few weeks. We also have our superintendents that have been working closely with us for months. Since we closed down back in March, we were having 3 to 4 to 5 meetings a week. Then we went to 3 times a week. Then we went to 2 times a week, and we've been now meeting once a week. But this week, we started on a Monday and had a meeting and have another meeting today. So why? Because something came up. And there was feedback from the governor that said, this is something we need to get together in. And I would say out of 16 superintendents, I would say we had 13 or 14 on with very little notice. They rearranged their schedule, they canceled meetings. Why? Because they felt moving forward. So my hat goes off to our superintendents that are working with us too. And then the only other point that I'm going to turn over to our team, and I just asked Megan Manson, because our communication department has been phenomenal, helping manage with Alex St. Pierre, the technology. He's working from here to help manage our Webex. But as of today, we have had 289 views of our CB Tech reopening session. As of today, we had 74 additional views on our special ed, and our CBES wide one was held last night, and we've had 29 as of 10 o'clock this morning. So in other words, the ways that we're getting the information out, it was on Facebook. We had on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, over 1,500 views within a very short time. So it's the messages we're getting out. We still want to improve on that, but we want you to know that we're doing everything possible to keep the communication flowing. So I'd like to turn it over. I'm going to ask Terry to start it off. Terry, can you just start it off? I know we started in our sessions. Can each of our directors give a couple of minutes, just a brief 2-minute update? So Terry.
Sure. 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
I don't really have a section. No, a few sections that I worked on or that I helped one was communication and just really reinforcing to staff and parents that always use our website, always look at our social media. Email is our #1 communication device for employees. So we tell people, check your email. There's only so many things you can do, but we reinforce that, update their information, whether they're a student, a parent, or an employee, as that's what we're going to do. We do robocalls. So we do a lot for communication, and we want to continue just keeping those lines open. So we've even done it through Teams now with virtual because we're not in person. So that's been helpful. Another piece we're talking about is the SEL. We're actually kicking off our opening day with Molly Kennedy, who is a motivational speaker. She does a lot with student leadership. What we're asking her to do is talk about self-care for our employees, and then how do they help their students, get that self-care for themselves and really come back feeling like they can be safe and that they're, build those relationships, because we know at any point we may be making up mistakes and going home, right? So we gotta be careful, we gotta be able to be flexible and just go through this. I actually got on some P-Tech calls with like 5 students in the last couple of days, just talking about their semester either already started or it's starting this Monday. And, just in a different dynamic, but, trying to keep them positive and give them all the supports we can. And just really keeping those lines of communication open, because we can't see them, like physically sometimes. So that's going to be interesting and challenging, because 70% of the community colleges courses are online this semester. So that's going to be very difficult for some of those students. The other piece is, so the SEL was another component, but really it just was a great effort of everybody sort of dividing the labor and then coming up with a plan. Alex, I don't know if you want to talk about technology. He headed up the technology.
Yeah, so mine was how are we going to provide devices to students that have technology barriers. So we are going to survey those students and then work with the school districts. If those are exhausted, then provide them devices. We also have it in, should be here, like 95 needs that we had. We'll have our allocation out to students that have internet as their technology barrier as well. And then if we find more as we survey students, we'll make arrangements to provide them.
Yeah. So we're taking care of that side of the house. Jeff Sisson in our division has been doing the health and safety. He has been going nonstop, night and day, weekends. Like, it's just been out insane. Every time we're trying to connect, he's either on the phone, I'm on the phone. Like, we are just constantly talking to people and trying to help them manage. Print Shop is making all the decals, all the posters, all the, that we can display in the school signage. We're working on that. I'll turn it over to Eric, who's got the other side of the house stuff.
Yeah, so facilities, we've been working on having proper cleaning and disinfecting protocols and working with Jerry Brooks and Jeff Sisson together, as well as Jeff's done a great job to bring all facilities directors together. And that's the beauty of being in a BOCES, is we're having a conversation with all districts, and we're bringing all districts together because we're all doing the same thing when it comes to cleaning and disinfecting. Those strategies are going to be used across all of our districts. Ventilation is a big item. We're opening all of our dampers and having full airflow into our spaces, albeit weather permitting. When it's colder, we won't be able to do that. But right now, all of our unit ventilators and dampers are being opened up 100%. We have ordered MERV 9 filtration filters for all of our HVAC systems. That's the maximum filtration our system will allow. We're also investigating further, including UV filtration. Right now, that is not available due to COVID and the delay and back order on it. It is something we're committed to trying to invest in for the long-term future of our facilities. Signage, been in this building, you didn't see our new signages, it almost hits you in the face. Signage is key, and it is everywhere, reminding people of socially distancing, face coverings, many different protocols that are in place. It's throughout all of our buildings. So signage is an important piece. It's also on our doors when you enter our building, various signs of it placed there. Access to the buildings is going to be limited for visitors. We're trying to have all meetings virtually still, and working with our directors to have as little visitors coming into our building as possible. If you already pick up a student, we are working to try to have them remain outside of our building and not coming into the space. Meals, for special ed, we are looking at various different meals serving options in classrooms, in cafeterias, pickup versus drop off. We're laying out many different strategies based on the program as well as your location. That is in coordination with Director Slattery and their administrative team, working with our cafeteria program on what is the best layout. CB Tech, as Director Friedman will be sharing, is looking at a full day option for students. With that coming into play, we want to feed those students. Since they're going to be here all day, we are going to provide them a free breakfast and a free lunch. That will be available to our CB Tech students as it was for our special ed students. As you all are aware, we take great pride in the quality of food that we serve here at CBS. We are looking to still continue that farm to school program that Julie Holbrook leads for us and offer those high quality meals our CV Tech students have never seen before. So some districts, I should say, that they may not have seen before.
If they don't participate.
That's right, they don't participate in our coaching. For transportation, we don't provide transportation, the home districts do for AM and PM drop-offs and pickups. For transportation, we do have some programs that will need it as the need arises. We're gonna have the same protocols that your local districts do have, which is require masks while you're on the bus. We are disinfecting the bus prior to being on it, as well as soon as students are off from that transportation. I say bus, could be a van, could be any form of transportation that a program may need. As those arise, we are addressing those. It's very limited as compared to your home districts.
Can I just ask a question, Eric, about
Yeah.
the facility? Will there be hand sanitizing stations throughout the building?
Yes, so we have actually ordered hand sanitizer as well, to have that widely available. Dr. Beatty led a region-wide recruitment of free hand sanitizer for all of our districts. So Dr. Beatty asked our districts, how much hand sanitizer do you want? And they gave us a list.
The palette.
And we got everything that a district wanted in hand sanitizer for free. They had to come pick it up from us, and that's all they had to do. So that was in coordination with the Office of Emergency Services in Clinton County, as well as in Essex County.
And Shabelle, I'm just gonna jump in and say this afternoon, I was on the phone again with one of our Office of Emergency Services. It looks like it will be able to happen again. So there's a very good chance that we will have as much hand sanitizers as our districts are able to receive.
It's just, I happened to be at the Wild Center today, and they actually had stations throughout the
Yes.
walk and stuff, and it was really good, because my kids are regimented now with the hand sanitizer.
We still need to encourage soap and water.
Yes, I agree.
But while you're out in the wild, hey.
I know, I understand.
Our kids might not know how to use the CB Tech sync because they want the foot pedal anymore. So capital project flashback. With that being said, I'll pass it to Director Friedman to talk about the teaching and learning portion of CB Tech.
Matt and I co-chaired that one little section, and we kind of divide and conquer on the teaching and learning, although there were a lot of components that were similar. The diversity in our divisions really required us to do two separate continuity of learning plans. So you are aware of what the model of the hybrid model level 3 that CV Tech is going to start the year with. Within our public plan, we really outlined that particular model because we haven't done that one before. Level 5 was what happened to us in March, so that was pretty much learning from what we did and making that better and making sure we have the equity piece. The lunch piece, as Eric has mentioned, is going to be really exciting. We are excited for a couple of reasons. Obviously, to have our students back, that we're super excited for that. We're going to have all our year 1 students for a full day, for 2 days, and then all of our year 2 students for 2 days separately. Before this, we had AM, our first year and second year, and full day adults all in one cohort or all in one group. And so this is going to be really good for streamlining and focusing instruction. The culinary arts management team and the pre-CTE food service is going to work with our food service director in providing support and work-based learning opportunities, because our school-based enterprises will not be able to function the way they typically do with onboarding the public for certain activities for clients and work. So we are shifting our curriculum so that our students can do those work-based learning opportunities with Julie and her team and still have them feel like they have that hands-on opportunity. So very excited. We've had 3 divisional meetings with all of our staff. Each staff principal has met in addition with their building staff, and we currently have several operating committees that are working through procedural components, because although the plan outlines mask wearing and certain requirements, now we have to build those protocols specific to the buildings. So, and I'll turn it over to Matt because, they have some different measures in place as well. It's basically.
Thank you, Director. Good evening, everyone. First, I wanted to start with an update about our ESY program. Finished last Friday. We had 36 students participate, 28 members of our faculty and staff, which include teachers, teaching assistants, and related service providers. This was in a remote environment, while our members were less than previous years. I will say, faculty and staff did an excellent job. It was our second chance at remote learning and instruction. It moved a lot from March to June of the school year. Changes that we put in place were a big success. I heard about it firsthand from a parent conversation 2 weeks ago. This parent was very pleased with the program that her child received over the summer in comparison to during the school year, just the progression. I also heard about it from our staff members being able, was concerned about being able to connect with new students virtually, students and families they may not have had a previous relationship with, but due to our consistent unifying learning platform, Microsoft Teams, those connections were instant. So I'm confident moving into this school year, if the need arises, hopefully it will not, so that we do have to go back to remote learning, which we do in levels 3 through 5, which Michelle referenced earlier, that our remote learning program will be even better. With that, special ed division really approached reopening planning with 2 things in mind. First being the safety, well-being of our students, families, staff members, going back to school. And the second part is really focusing on in-person instruction. We want our students back in school in person. We know that's where they live best. The past 6 months has been a long haul for families and students. We really want to get them back on campus in a safe environment so we can start to make up that lost ground. Looking at reopening, we are starting in level 2. So that's in person. We want to stay in person as long as possible. To help us do that, we're using a staggered approach for in-person instruction. So by that, I mean on September 8th, we'll have some of our students in the building for in-person instruction, while some of our other students will start with remote learning. That second week of school, September 14th, all of our students will be in person. That staggered approach is really important to us because we haven't seen our students or staff in the building since March. So we've had a lot of new changes that we put in place that Mr. Bell, Mrs. Eldridge Gray, Director Friedman have all outlined. So we really want to take our time, do it well, start the school year, teaching those new routines and procedures so that everyone is safe. As far as our in-person model,
Is that furniture delivery? Yeah.
as far as our in-person model, we've taken a lot of time to engage with the faculty and staff. We did a lot of small group theme meetings to really tap into their expertise to build procedures. What do you need to safely provide instruction, whether you're a one-on-one related service provider, classroom teacher, a teaching assistant, paraprofessional. What do we need to do to ensure, to the best of our ability, a safe environment? From those meetings, we've outlined different procedures. We rolled out the first week of school. In addition to that, looking at the equity piece that Alex covered so well, we're excited to be able to have options for our students if it does place where you have to go to remote learning. And finally, we've been engaging with our parents about a virtual option for learning. This is a choice that's in the regulations. It's a choice that we're offering with families. We've had 4 families engage with us so far in conversation about that option. We're approaching it with flexibility. So if a family, due to a medical need, wants to start with remote instruction, during the course of the year, if their situation changes and they'd like to move to in-person instruction, we will be able to accommodate that. Our only stipulation is that we're asking for a week's worth of notice and for that transition back in instruction. The plan is online. It's comprehensive like all of our plans. We did release a parent-friendly version about all of our families yesterday. It's kind of a nice abbreviated version to see what it's going to look like on a day-to-day operation.
Yeah. Did you have anything else?
Sure, no, I didn't know if there was nothing else other than to acknowledge and thank our leadership team who's here tonight, as well as our entire administrative team for taking the point. They've also been transitioning our staff to get up to speed as well. For many of us, and you've been receiving updates all along, some of our staff, when they went home at the end of the school year, unplugged. So for them to come back, this has been ramping up. So I thank everyone for understanding that, but also work hard to bring everyone up to speed as quickly as possible so they could ask good questions. Because part of the information helps our staff understand that there are ways that we're taking good steps and important steps to be healthy and safe. Lastly, I just want to acknowledge our 12-month support staff as well, who've onboarded and had a good process to come back. And that's gone really, really, really well. So just want to acknowledge that and thank Mr. Bell and our whole team for helping lead that and making it all possible. So thank you.
I just wanted to say that anybody that's been involved with any of this planning at the local district level and everything else, with boards and superintendents, it's just gone, this is a crazy situation. But Dr. David, you and our administrators and our directors, as always, have gone way beyond and always keep the students at the forefront. Thank you.
Yeah, for those of us who are on our local boards, we're seeing how much effort is going into this whole process, and it's just amazing. Everybody's working hard. It's just tremendous the amount of things we have to do. Still holding them together.
I used to laugh seeing, pictures of the techies with 2 or 3 computer screens between this and my business one and the homeschool one. It's like, here I am.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully things will go on, of course. That we can do.
There'll be an end for sure.
Yeah.
I know, nobody can. It's going to be a big party.
Our Christmas dinner is in jeopardy, but we'll cross that bridge. Right now, it's not looking too good. But I don't know. I guess we can move on. You're all set?
Yes.
Any opinions, concerns from the audience? You have a subject? Members, anybody? Okay. So ready to move on with the minutes and previous.
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
In favor?
Aye.
The consent agenda for.
Move the list.
Move the list, we got the first and second. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. All business committees, none this month. Okay. Wait for the next, skip. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. All right, the consent agenda for personnel.
Motion.
Second. Any more questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Could I just congratulate Nicole? And also thank several members who are retired who have earned a well-deserved retirement, but have given us many years of very good service.
Yeah. If Mr. St. Pierre would be okay if I just acknowledge, and Ms. Nicole O'Connell was just approved by the board, so we thank you for that as our new special education principal. Nicole, thank you for being here this evening. We're so excited to have you join our team. I know Mr. Slattery helped lead a great interview team who kind of stepped you into the process, and then you met with cabinet and then myself. So we're so excited for you to join us. We know you bring an outstanding background and experience and a local leader as a teacher, and now moving forward into administration. We're so thrilled that you're here and joining us.
Thank you. I'm very excited to start here. Very excited to get started, and now's a great time as ever, right?
You get through this, you get through anything.
20 years from now, you guys can still not as crazy. No, think about this. It's gonna be so much better because this is probably the worst thing that'll happen. You're gonna think this is gonna be so much easier. That's all downhill slide from there.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Okay, and thank you and welcome. We're so thrilled. And I also want to echo Mrs. LaRocque's points. We had the board just accepted and approved 2 resignations for retirement of dedicated employees from our CV Tech division. It's our adult education supervisor, Ms. Kathy Snow, who's been with us 27 years, since 1993. Started as a teacher and moved up through the ranks and then as an administrator, and has been doing a phenomenal job for many years. We're so thrilled. She's been a leader not only in CV Tech, but also has been recognized across the state and even presented in Washington on behalf of the state for an exceptional leader who could provide tremendous insight at the federal level. Just really a great asset. Mr. Freeman, I don't know if you want to add anything else with.
I would love to take the opportunity. Kathy Snow is the epitome of a professional, and the success that you see with our One Word Source programming and thousands of students across Clinton and Essex County are due to her work over the past 27 years. And as we mentioned before earlier in the meeting, the success of that program has been an evolution of the job, of the opportunities, but none of it was handed to CV Tech as here's the program. It was built and crafted and cultivated, expanded and respected by Kathy's work. And she is a go-to person, not just for the state of New York, but for the country when they are starting to implement those federal VIOA funds. She is the one that the state says, call Kathy in Plattsburgh and have her walk you through the process. So we are very fortunate, very blessed as an organization to have had the opportunity. I'm devastated. I don't want her to go. But we truly owe the success of that program to her 30 years of dedicated service and expertise. And I wish her all the best. But those are incredibly big shoes to fill. And so it is a loss to our organization, but it is definitely, we have definitely reaped the rewards of all of her work over the years. So I wish her all the best, for sure.
I don't know where we're playing these big footy people.
I don't know.
And likewise, the other resignation for retirement was Mrs. Louise Jackstaff. The board, I know, has known Mrs. Jackstaff for many years. She's been with us since 1997, so 23 years. And Megan has gotten to know Mrs. Jackstaff so closely because they've worked in partnership so wonderfully together. She's a consummate professional. She's as exceptional in her skill set as she is in professional in her knowledge. Has been a great asset. Many of you have known her a lot on the component boards for helping be supportive of superintendent searches. I know she's helped me with every one, and she worked with Mr. King for many, many years, supporting searches and the work. So that's a loss for us too. We wish her much success in her retirement, but she has been a privilege to work with and a pleasure, and she's excited about her next step. But it's been a true pleasure to work with her, and she will be missed. And her knowledge and experience has just been tremendous. Megan, you want to add anything? Since you worked with her closely as well.
I did. She helped me tremendously coming on board 4 years ago. I believe my heart cannot be replaced, but I'm very, very happy for her. So she can do the next chapter. She's looking forward to it.
Yes, it is. Yeah, so thank you and allowing us the opportunity to recognize both of those long-term employees for their work.
Too bad they couldn't have waited at least a year to get us through this mess. We'll take what we've got to go with.
Thank you.
So first, I guess we can move on to the memorandum of agreement.
Motion.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. Mr. Bell, I'm going to just defer to you on that for that MOU.
So this is the, I'm guessing it's the right one, it's our Sunbelt.
Yes.
It's a memorandum of agreement to our CBS United Professionals contract to allow us to go out and hire an agency to employ teachers with deaf, to provide teacher with deaf services to students. We went on a recruitment venture for many months. So back in February, we started a recruitment effort and we're unsuccessful. So we got candidates, offered them the position, and we were turned down due to salary. Basically, we're trying to get them to relocate from the Westchester area.
I'm sorry.
Their starting salary is $92,000 a year. So they ended up turning down the jobs. We re-upped the recruitment efforts. We were unsuccessful in getting anybody. We worked with the union to amend their contract to allow us to hire two employees to provide the services through an agency. They've agreed upon for this school year. Director Slider negotiated an agreement that is part of your addendum, which is to hire that company. They have found two quality individuals for us, as vetted by Mr. Slattery, and we're excited that our union is supported of these efforts.
And we've acknowledged that it's not precedent setting. So we will continue to try to recruit, but for this year, we felt it was very important. And the rates are such that we're able to reimburse and cover the expenses based on the district reimbursement. So it is a positive opportunity for us. I will share with you, and for Ms. Horn, who's on the video as well, or Webex. I know David Little, who's the executive director, had called me, and they've worked with rural schools to try to look at this as a service, because in many cases out west, especially rural areas across the country, this is the normal mode. Why? Because they can't provide services. They can't because of the distances. So they use remote services very often. So we are looking at that this year, and we did put it in place. But with that said, I thought it was important for you to hear the background as we went into it, because it is something that is not our preferred approach, but it will provide the opportunity for the students to receive the service they need while we redouble our efforts in a year from now. So thank you.
Moving on, we get some addendums or.
I think, do you go on that? I don't know, you had a motion in a second. I don't think you go on that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, now.
Right. New business is a recommendation of the board appoint the following persons to 52 weeks civil service probation appointment as follows.
Motion by.
Motion.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay.
Recommend the board grant appointment civil service to Okra.
Motion.
Second.
Favor? Aye.
Recommend the board approve the following 2020 summer work list.
Motion.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And recommend the board approve the following client services agreement.
Motion. Second.
Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Last one, recommend the board approve the following change.
Motion.
Second. That's for electrical work. All those in favor? Opposed? Chip to that. We're down to plan update.
Yes. In the board's packet, you received several new dates. I know that we spent quite a bit of time looking at our dates for the fall. We did have a meeting, and we worked with Sean Brady to continue to work with us again. However, in a little bit different manner this year, and more of a remote. So with that being said, why? Because of the nature of what's happening across the state, across the country. We did have a virtual conference with Mr. Brady to talk about updating our goals, redesigning so that instead of doing full day sessions, we would be doing half day sessions. virtually. And we'd also be doing some internal updates first and then work with Sean to vet it, to bring it forward and to make sure that it worked for us again. We did discuss the inclusion of our equity and inclusion and access goal as part of our update. That was part of our conversation, that making it a priority this year to make sure that we infuse that, but also to look at continuing the process and not losing our momentum. So some of this will change the design a little bit, but the goal and the work will still remain the same. We did talk about working with the board as well for a brief hour-and-a-half long retreat, but it would be electronic this year. Megan and I, we weighed in as well with the board to talk about that initial goal that I mentioned about the inclusion and equity and how we infuse that into our goals as a whole. And also we suggested that we look at how can we make the work with the board to be even more effective at utilizing the remote resources that are available. It's been a priority for the board to use these, and thank goodness you had the laptops that we could transition to that this past year. But we also want to help you be as effective as possible. So that's part of the emphasis too that we're hoping to look at for the year. So with that said, those are the primary updates. I thank the cabinet members for being involved in that. It will change our process a little bit, but it's still going to have the participation and engagement by our team at a high level, and we hope the board will be able to work with us on that model as well, and do a hour-and-a-half long session where you engage from home. I know that's always something that we do appreciate and the board seems to really benefit from. So we want to continue to do that again.
So you have the meals catered to our houses?
Yes, we're gonna have virtual meals.
Virtual meals.
Try Grubhub. Send it by Grubhub. We'll all be set.
Okay. So the date on that, and Megan, it was October 22nd for the.
Thursday, October 22nd, from 6 to 7:30 is the date that's been proposed by Sean.
Okay.
We all need a reminder for that. Like everything else.
So.
Can someone check and make sure that doesn't correspond with one of the NISBA convention dates or times?
It's
Or
evening.
instead of
I don't know how much NISBA will offer evening. I know.
So.
Oh, okay, as long as it's not, okay, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Thanks.
that's okay. Ms. Vanderhorn, great question. And NISBA has just sent something out that their conference this year is scheduled to be over 2 weeks. So it's going to be, right? Megan?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, over 2 weeks, starting October 20th and ending on the 29th. And Mrs. Zaraka asked earlier, if those will all be recorded. I believe it's a combination of live seminars and also pre-recorded, but I think even the live seminars will be recorded so that you can participate really at any time. So which is a really nice feature.
What's the cost for this year?
So registration is $260, which is down from typical $460 or $480. And then for those that want to do the pre-convention seminars, which is school law and communications, $130 and $100 respectively.
Okay, so with that being said, we'll be happy to send out reminders to everyone, and we will take pictures of delicious dinners.
There you go.
But there's no calories in any of them. And the desserts will be out of this world.
No pizza and cheese bread.
But no calories. So.
It's so light, it'd be almost like it wasn't there.
So I guess we're ready for the superintendent's update.
Yes, and I will keep it brief because we've been very extensive in much of this, and I just want to acknowledge and thank the board for their support for reopening and all the component boards and superintendents for their work. A lot of work that's been undertaken. All this could change at a moment's notice. We want you to be aware of that, but we're willing to work to really bring the reopening home and restart with our students. We hope and we are really working to make that possible. And we want you to know and just thank everyone for being involved to support it. Barry?
Also, could you mention the United Way? Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, yes, and one of the updates earlier this year, you received that the United Way had donated $10,000 to us for computers. They have just recently updated us as well, that they are donating another $10,000 to support our students. So I know, Mr. Slattery, thank you to our team for helping do that. So we're working with Mr. St. Pierre to look at resources and trying to get those in. I know so that the timeline of some of those is extended a little bit, but we're working on it. But the United Way has been a great partner, both with our component districts as well as with us. But for us to donate, that is really just tremendous, and have that donation coming in. So it's really exciting to see that. That's the first reopening update. Second, we're acknowledging the NISPA meeting. We also have for board planning, and we thank you for being here. And we've kept the doors open a little tonight just to keep the air flowing. Acknowledge everyone's wearing masks and such.
Megan's wearing her snowmobiles with me.
Yeah.
I will be next time, yeah.
But to keep the social, the proper distancing, we thank you for that. But we also acknowledge too that in September and October, we're asking the board's understanding to hold our board meetings here in person, for us to allow to do that if it's allowed, but also to take advantage of our large room and to allow us to meet in this manner. So if we can do that, that would be very much appreciated. The third item, the board is aware that there's been some adjustments. We have a new carrier with our health insurance. That seems to have been going well. There's been a few updates and bumps along the road, but I'd also share with you that there were cost savings that were inherently built in that as well. And the amount of savings that we've accrued this year, this past year from the change has been tremendous. Mr. Bell, could you just give me I believe it's, what was the savings that we were able to put into our reserves? Was it 18 million? What was the total on that?
Yes, so we haven't finalized our financials yet. Dave is right, our estimate at this time is net income for the year.
So that's a big change. So that was announced at the public meeting. So the board is, so you're aware of that. It wasn't something that you're hearing that wasn't out there in the public, but there are some savings. We do understand that not everyone is able to have all the surgeries and everything due to the shutdowns. However, there are savings that have been accrued, and many of those, I believe almost 10 million of that was planned. So just so you're aware that there were additional savings as well. It wasn't just all a surprise. The last item we've talked about a little bit during our strategic plan about our planning updates for the goals, strategic planning, our equity, inclusion, and acceptance, and making sure that's a priority. I also shared with the board in the transmittal the BOCES wide goal for the consortium across the state. The state is also looking at using that as a type of a goal to help statewide initiatives as well. So with that said, and just the acknowledgement, and I want to thank Mrs. Friedman that there's been some initiative ideas that have been being shared about CTE. So we're trying to really share best practices. And if there is an advantage or a positive that's coming out of this pandemic, is the level of communication and sharing seems to be expanding. Why? Because we're all looking for best practices, and the more we can share and benefit from each other's knowledge and great ideas. I walked out of our CSO meeting today with some great ideas that some of our superintendents are doing. And it came from experienced superintendents, it came from first-year superintendents, and it's just been really great to have those kinds of things shared. So that's it in terms of my superintendent's update. Are there any questions? Okay, I guess we're done.
Mark?
Ms. Tanya Hart?
A couple of things. First of all, I just want to thank you for having had the remote tonight. I got diagnosed with shingles yesterday, so I would not have been an actual. It's not as bad. It's the second time I've had them. Not as bad as a lot of people get. But I would not have been able to attend. Otherwise, I've been off a lot because of, coughing, wheezing with, I just think it's a combination But anyway, have we thought about the Clinton Essex school boards and possibly having those meetings remote this year? There's so many things we could talk about and so many topics. I was just wondering if, I know with everything else you've had, but I just wanted to put it out there.
Sure, and Ms. Gaylord, great question. And sorry you're not feeling well, and we hope you speedy recovery. With that said, we did work with our two attorneys who have provided sponsorship in the past. Both Harris Beach, Douglas Gerhardt, and Jackie Kelleher for Stafford Owens did agree to help sponsor one session this year. They were co-sponsoring a dinner that's planned. We don't know if we'll be able to hold it or not, but it's scheduled for our January meeting. So there is a plan for one at this time, but we're not sure if it's going to be able to be held or not, but it would be at no charge to our attendees because both law firms have agreed to help sponsor that. So we will keep the board aware of what's happening as we're moving forward, and our fingers are crossed that would be able to be held this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything to throw in before we adjourn?
Yeah, give me a motion to adjourn.
We did. Second. All those in favor?
And thank you to all of our board members virtually as well. Thank you, everyone.
It's always a challenge, right?
Hey, Alex?
Let me see.
I'll meet you, Alex.
In my office?
Your office, yeah.
Well,
Right.
it's